Alright, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Being Present, Living in the Moment, just living life, experience. For me, thinking out loud and sharing my thoughts with myself. But just shooting the shit. Another episode of the Shit Shooting Gallery, you know? I've had a few ideas kind of sitting on my mind, ruminating, germinating. I think they're synonyms, but kind of sitting or growing in a way, just like, and not like they're bad thoughts, but just sometimes these thoughts pop into my head, and if I don't write them down or make music or do this now, podcast, they can get stuck sometimes, and like they stack up sometimes. It's kind of like art. When I have projects that I want to do, stuff I want to get done, and obviously I enjoy the process of doing them, but there's only so many hours in the day, and I can't just work on art. Like I have to do chores. I have to do, stay up on cleaning Piece's litter, playing with her through the day. She just got her wet food. I'm doing some laundry, which you're gonna hear the timer go off for in 9 minutes, but that's okay. I'll get it after I'm done recording. But yeah, there's so many things that I want to do or that I think about, and then if I can't get to them in time, or I have to let them go, it's sometimes it's frustrating. I'm trying to let go of that frustration or beating myself up of like, oh, all these good ideas and you could be doing more and getting more done, and it's like, okay, well, I feel like I am doing a decent amount. Sorry, I'm packing up my toque real quick. I feel like I am doing a decent amount, but now I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's not that I have to. Sorry, all over the place, right? It's not that I have to. It's not about forcing myself to do anything or get these things done or even make a list and. Sorry, just moving the camera. Or even like make a list and say like, okay, I have to get all these things done. This is my to-do list for the day. I have these chores, I have these projects I want to do. I'm going to get them all done and feel accomplished, and I'm going to feel great. It's like, no. For me, anyways, the more I try to schedule or plan stuff out, it just, I don't know, it feels wrong. It feels like it's not right. Like the other day, I wanted to do a podcast, or I wanted to record another episode of this, and do some streaming. Like if I had time, I would do some after. And I ended up getting in that thought loop and I didn't end up doing anything. I was sitting on social media for a bit, and then I snapped out of it, and I realized, oh yeah, there's stuff I wanted to do. I'm running out of time before Julia gets off work and comes home. And I ended up just going, okay, well, there's a few things I want to do, but what I really need to do right now is get groceries to make dinner tonight. So I was like, okay, screw trying to think of all this art and projects or like the stuff that I want to do. Let me just do what needs to be done. And you have to eat, you have to make food, and while Jules at work, I don't want to wait till she comes home to go do groceries. That doesn't really make sense, and I have free time, so let's go get it done now. And it's kind of like, it almost leads me back to thinking that everything works out for a reason, and everything in life happens for a reason. Whether it's intentionally or not, like, that's kind of the butterfly effect in some aspects, or the fact that like you can't really change time or history or the future because there is no time. It's all like it's all the here now, the present, just different like iterations of it, I guess. But I feel like the principle of the butterfly effect pretty much says like, no matter what you do, it's gonna have ripples. Or maybe it's not the butterfly effect. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. But the fact that everything you do has ripples, and like everything it's kind of like fate. It's like everything's gonna happen how it happens for a reason, or like things are gonna set certain things up in the future. Like it's all, just let it happen. It's like watching a sports event that you have no influence on. It's like, sure, you it could be your favorite team, and you could even be betting money on them, But at the end of the day, you're not on the team, you're not one of the coaches. Sure, you can support, but like at the end of the day, how much difference is that going to make? Just like watch it for the experience of enjoying the people playing the game and watching that. But I don't know, it's, you don't have influence over it. That's very much life. It's like life is the game, and you're just sitting there watching, and it's like, okay, well, this team beat this team, so this means this for the finals, and then, but there's always another season. If you don't win this season, there's always next season and all this shit, and it's like, I don't know. Sure, I guess it gets to a point with sports anyways, and like video games and stuff, where if you like something so much that you've been playing it, and like at this point you just want to challenge yourself and get better for you, not necessarily to compete with other people, but I feel like that right there inspires the competition, is wanting to be better than yourself and beat your own records, and then you see everybody else doing the same, and you're like, well, okay, now I can compete with other people because we're all trying to be the best. But some people get lost in trying to be better than other people. You should try and be better than yourself, constantly improve, but not for the sake of improvement, for the sake of doing the thing that you love, right? That's like perfect example would be this painting that I did yesterday or 2 days ago. But I had this picture in my head, and I just sat down and I started painting, and I think it turned out pretty good, if you can't tell what it is, but tried to do some modern art, hard, straight lines, and this was all free-handed. Like I did like an outline. I did the yellow, and then I did a pencil outline and painted over that, but just doing it for the enjoyment of painting, and because I had this idea in my head, and I wanted to do it not because it's like, oh yeah, look at this thing that I can show off on podcasts. It's like, no, I did it because I enjoy painting, and this is like the reward that it gives me. Like, it's cool that I could have a product to even look at, to admire. Some days I paint and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really a fan of this, maybe somebody else is, but I don't really like the composition or how the colors work, so I'm just gonna paint over it. And maybe that's what it needs to end up like, right? Like, I probably have one over there that can be painted over. I don't want to get up and get it right now, but it's the fact of the matter that, like, you should be painting for yourself because you enjoy it, and then if you do end up creating stuff that you can sell at the end, it's like sick. But the goal shouldn't be, oh, I'm just gonna paint to sell stuff, And that's sometimes where I get messed up, or I get tripped up. But then something that helps with that, recently I heard somebody say that, I think it's the Buddhists or one of the more Eastern religions, that talks about if you feel like you're getting distracted or you're losing yourself in your thoughts or whatever it is, don't beat yourself up, just come back to the breath, just and now you're back in the present. That's all it takes. And it is as simple as that to get you on the right path, back moving in the right direction, get you out of your head. You know what I mean? And I feel like, since there is only the present and you should try and be as present as possible, right? That's kind of the goal, is to be in the moment as much as possible. It shouldn't be... what was I gonna say? Then when it comes to doing shadow work, it's like, yes, you should be present, but when it comes to shadow work, sometimes maybe you do need to go back to the past, but use it as a tool and look at the root of what caused your problems and why maybe you keep going back to that thing. How does it make you feel? What do you think about after that initial thought, or why does that thought pop up because of thoughts that you had before? You know what I mean? And it's good to look at and learn from, but not just sit there and ruminate on, or just like, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like one of the ideas that was sitting on my head. See, I still haven't gotten there because I have so much floating around in the dome. But I'll rip the token, then we can get to the idea I wrote down. And it kind of goes back to my childhood and the thinking, low-key growing up, having bad memories about the thing, and like going back and looking back on it, right? But See, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm sure some people are gonna love this because it's like it's giving them a little piece of all this different information that's in my head. But I'm sure some people are gonna hate this because it's so uh, like broken up. And when I'm just talking to myself, I don't have to like. Sorry if you hear the sirens. I don't have to focus so much on like keeping a conversation or keeping track of where I'm going. It's just being present and what's popping into my head at any given moment, right? But yeah, I definitely need to toke and turn the fan back around pointing at me because she's another steamy one today, bud. But that's okay. No AC, but we got the fans, we got the breeze, and we got some clean laundries. Bars. Bars on bars. But yeah, man, like I say, if you're not session, you best be blessing. That basically means live and let live. If you don't know, I don't think I've ever explained that, but yeah, if you're not session, you best be blessed and live and let live. If you're not smoking with me, it's just something I do, so live. If it's not bugging you, just let me do my thing, send your blessings, whatever it is, and we move on with life, right? Cheers to the family. Cheers to myself. Gotta get the sploof, you know, the little filter. And that's cheers to myself, like the oneness, but not the idea of self. And that being said, once you describe it, it's no longer the thing. So, what am I really talking about at all, you know? Oh, that one was harsh. Too much Tobe in there. And that's definitely one of the reasons I want to cut back and just quit eventually, but you know, it's an idea right now and I want to get there eventually, but I don't know, and these are just things that I'm telling myself, right? I'm just living in this habit, routine that I've been living in for a few years now, so I do want to quit to see what life is like without it, completely sober. Not even, like, I don't even want to have caffeine or anything. I want to see what life is like on that wave, you know? Like, just completely sober and actually try to be, like, high on life, you know? And that's something that Richard Monkton was talking about. I seen, he posted a few videos today kind of talking in that vein of, you know, you don't need anything to feel good, and being high on life is just like being high on not needing anything to be high on. You know what I mean? It's kind of redundant or like paradoxical in a sense, but I feel like it works and it's truth, you know? It's truthful, maybe. But yeah, the idea that's kind of been sitting on my head for a while is like, when I was a kid, I had this thought, like, oh, I wish I could just be friends with everyone, or like, why can't we all just be on the same level, or be like, why can't we be more unified? Why can't we be friendlier to each other? Because I grew up in an elementary school where I came from out of town, got bussed in, went to French immersion, and I feel like there were a lot of people that didn't really want to be there, and the teachers were harsh, and they had to like really work it into us to remember the French and speak French, all this shit. And it's like, yes, I understand, but there's different ways about it, right? But the initial thought was like, I wish we could just be friends. And then that led me to realizing, like, yeah, not everybody wants to be friends with you. Not everybody's gonna see the same way as you, or like be as open or as kind or caring as you. Like, it's sad, but it's like one of those realizations you have, like, I don't know, maybe everybody could be more friendly to each other. Maybe there is something that everybody needs to hear to just make them go like, oh, yeah, that's right, we all are one, or we all have the same issues, right? But sometimes it's hard to see that because of our idea of self, or life around us is so chaotic or hectic that it just takes us out of the moment, right? Or we're just stuck in our thoughts. And I was thinking about it more recently of like, yeah, we don't need to be friends, but why can't we just be acquaintances? Like, so often people have said, oh, do you know this person in town? And I'll say, well, I know of them, I've heard their name, but I don't know them personally, right? And I feel like if we just talked about more people in that sense, or on that level of like, yeah, I know of them, I've heard their name before, like, no, I don't, I've never heard that name before, but it's just another version of myself. It's like a neighbor, it's like a friend or family member. It's like, how well do you truly know anyone, right? If you even if you see them on a daily basis, what you think of someone is just your idea of them, right? So it's like, when you break it down to what we actually are, is just energy, is just matter and particles. It's like, what's really that different? How are we really that different from each other at all, right? And I don't know, it's like wanting to be friends with each other. I'm reading my bullet points now and getting distracted, but I don't know, wanting to be friends with each other might be a hefty goal, but I don't even think it is. And when you get to a certain level of realization or thinking that like we are all the same, there's nothing really that different about any one of us. Like, I don't know, it's having the realization and coming to terms with it. But that also comes from yourself. It's like, can you be friends with yourself? Are you kind to yourself, you know? The other day, it was super hot and the sun was shining, no clouds in the sky, no chemtrails either. That's pretty good. But what is it? I went to the dollar store and I seen there was a homeless guy outside, and he had an umbrella over him, but he didn't look the most comfortable. You know, he was in pretty heavy clothes, pretty thick clothes. It looked like he had a sweater and pants on. So I got him a bottle of water, and it's like, shit, I don't have much money because I'm not working right now, but bottle of water is a buck or two. I can spare that, and it's something that everybody needs. We're all made of water. We all need to drink water to stay alive, right? So I don't know, it's just realizing like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be sitting outside if it was stinking hot, sitting in the sun and like not able to buy food or water for myself. It's like, shit, I can at least, that's the bare minimum that you can do for someone, you know? You don't have to give them 5, 10, 20 bucks. You don't have to do that, but like, just ask them what they need. Maybe they just need to be maybe they just need to be heard. Maybe you just have to ask them like, hey, do you need a pair of socks? Do you need some shoes? Whatever it is. And then that could spark a conversation of them just snapping out of this like routine that they're in and being like, oh, a person that actually recognizes me as a person. Wow, yeah, yes, I would love a pair of socks or whatever it is, you know, like, you know. And I feel like that's how you get all those videos of people doing stuff for homeless people, and the homeless people are really gracious and thankful for it, but then you just take it to the nth degree where you're just like finding random people and you're taking them out for food and haircuts and all this shit. It's like, okay, yes, that is good, but is that because you truly care about that person, or because you're just trying to monetize something good and get views and get ad revenue from the video, you know? It's like, when I gave the homeless guy water, I didn't post anything about it. I just went into the store, got my stuff, got the water, set it down next to him, and walked home. Because I don't need credit or recognition for it. Sure, I'm talking about it now, but it's an example of caring about other people like they're yourself, and not thinking as people as any different, you know, and also not trying to monetize that, but just trying to monetize my experience, but not like while it's happening, you know. And in a sense, I guess that is kind of what this is, but you know, life is kind of ironic and paradoxical that way. Like, the thing you want the most is behind the door you fear to walk through, you know. Like, it's like freedom in the cage with the door wide open. It's like the freedom's right there, you can go for it, just feel free, go for it. But you're so stuck in that idea of like, oh, but I've been in the cage my whole life and the door is open, but how, I don't know what's out there, it's not safe, it's not protected. It's like, yeah, but that's part of that's part of life. It's like you're gonna go through life doing shit that is scary or unexpected, but that's part of the fun of it, you know? It's like, uh, and that's something I need to kind of, knock myself in the head once in a while and be like, hey, you remember what you were talking about? Because even recently there was an event going on, like a beer fest and then buskers festival downtown in the town that we live in, and Jewel was working at Shoppers because she has two jobs right now. In Shoppers she does 2 shifts a month, I'm pretty sure, and that should equal like 18 or 16 hours or some shit like that, like 2 8-hour shifts, right? So she's working her ass off and I respect the hell out of her. But she was talking about how, like, oh, there's this thing going on, but then I have to work the next day, and I don't know if it was anxiety about going out or hearing her say that she needs to work, and I feel like I would be tired and I would be stressed about the whole thing. But we didn't end up going, and she said, no, it's okay. But I ended up feeling some sort of way about it because I want to live more life and I want to, like, go have these experiences. But sometimes I hold myself back in the sense of, like, I don't like living on a schedule. But it also, like, it sucks when the person you live with is on a schedule because that also affects my schedule, right? It's like, and I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing or it imposes in any way that, like, there's a problem or anything. It's just different, or it's we're not on the same schedule, and I'm trying to do the work here to keep it clean, to keep it, like, stay on top of chores, so when Jewel comes home it is clean and she can just eat and chill and whatever. It's because that's what I would like. But also, when I think about going out, that also stresses me out because I'm like, oh yeah, but then we're going to be staying up late, going to be drinking, and then it's going to affect our body, and we have to spend money, which I don't really have the money to spend right now. She said she could pay, but that's not the point. And I know the point should be, yeah, just go do it because it's something that you wanted to do, but then in the moment, I didn't really feel like doing it, and I don't think she wasn't saying, like, oh yes, this is something I wanted to do 100%. It was just something we could do, right? But I don't know, I like being spontaneous, but then sometimes when it comes to social events or, like, stuff with other people, I don't know, it makes me feel a certain type of way because I grew up solo. I lived my whole life solo. My parents told me entertain yourself, so I just got used to, like, doing shit like this, making music, or, like, being so self-sufficient that when it comes to interacting with other people, I kind of freeze up and I'm like, oh, well, I know how to chill by myself, but now when it comes to being with other people, it's hard, right? And I feel like that's part of why, like, doing sports growing up or having that sense of community or just being social as a kid is so important, because if you don't get that training, or you live in the country, or maybe you live in a town or a city, but you don't go to the park or you don't go out too much, you only go to school and then you come home, or it affects us socially to the point where now so many people are antisocial. You barely see anybody nowadays just talking on the street, having a conversation. But it's like, back in the day when we had no technology, what was stopping us from, like, okay, I'm going out to the store, you tell whoever's at home, okay, I'm going out for a while, I'll see you later. You go out, and then what's stopping you from having a 10, 20, half an hour conversation with someone on the street, and then you get back and tell the person you live with about it? Like, it's that sense of community, like, oh yeah, I saw this guy, or I met this guy, and we were talking about this, and it was a great experience, and that's kind of what I want to facilitate with this podcast. I'm hoping to get guests on in the future. I've been sending out DMs, and I got one person back saying that they're down, so that'll be sick. That'll be really exciting. See, I'm already smiling thinking about it, because being social is, at the core of it, it is something that I truly like doing. But I don't know, sometimes it's hard to break out of the shell or even leave this cage, this physical cage, the apartment, Sometimes it is hard to just get out there. And, hopefully that's why I'm practicing with this and just being social and just being like, oh yeah, I can just talk to anybody like it's a podcast. I want to take that knowledge and experience with me into life whenever I go out, and maybe that'll help me to go out more, right? But it all comes down to questioning why do you feel a certain way? What is making you have certain thoughts or making you not want to do something? Is it truly that there's a risk at all, or is it just like a perceived risk and you think there's danger and it's your ego or your mind protecting your body, whatever? It's like, man, life is short. Live it up to the fullest. And then, like, I don't know, death is just like another stage of life, in the sense of, like, we don't know what was before, we don't know what's after, we know we die, and that's the transition point, right? But we don't know what's after. To a certain extent we do, but then what's after death? Like, we know about, like, okay, so we have life, we have death that we have a concept of, but what's on either end of those? And what's, like, if you keep pulling back your perspective and taking a step back, like, what does it look like from a distance? Is it truly a linear line of, like, okay, life, get to this point, die, death, whatever it is? Or is it a circle? Is it an infinity sign where it's like, okay, you live your life, and then you get to this death, and then you have this other experience, and then you come back and live life, and you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more symmetry in the universe than we I don't know. Who the fuck knows, Nobody really knows for sure. Nobody knows anything, and the description is not the describe, so whatever you try to use to describe life and the experience of life and death and whatever, it's all conceptual, and then you lose what it actually is. It's just being present in the moment. Like, I heard somebody recently say that, I think it was a French quote, that the orgasm is, or the death is the big orgasm and sex is the small orgasm, or something like that. So it's kind of like life is the whole point of it is the dance and the sex of whatever, the euphoria, the euphoric feeling of it, and you get to this point of ecstasy, and then is that death? Is death the eternal ecstasy, whatever? But then again, it's all conceptual, It's like, who the fuck really knows? But yeah, that's why it's going to be nice to have a guest on, and we can talk about art and projects that we're working on. I think it's going to be a great time. So, stay tuned for that, and who knows, I might even record another episode right after this one, because I have some more talking points. Maybe I won't record another one after this, and maybe I'll start streaming and do a live show, because I have been wanting to do that again recently and make the quality better, because I watched it back and I realized, oh yeah, there were a few parts that were really quiet and it was hard to hear. So yeah, I want to work on making it a good time, making it a good experience, and something worth coming to the live stream to see the show, and then that's practice for doing shows in real life, But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. I'll see what I checked off my list of talking points, and whatever's left, I'll save it for another episode, and we keep going from there. But this has been such a great experience, such a great practice of being present and being able to clear my mind, just speak without being interrupted or without being stopped, without needing to think about somebody else or have a conversation, and just verbal diarrhea, as my mom used to say when I was a kid, and then I can just sit, be quiet for a second, and think about what I was talking about, or just maybe that's the point, is that I just talk and then I can be silent, and easier to meditate after, who knows. But yeah, I'll leave it here for now. I appreciate you for watching, and thank you for existing and being here. It means the world, and there are people that love you. Should be you should love yourself. But then outside of that, even there are people that love you, Realistically, we should all be loving each other, and then nobody would ever feel like they're not loved, We should all be loving ourselves for each other. I think that's better. But yeah, I love you. Gotta love the sirens, if you can hear them. That's crazy. It really doesn't even sound too loud, but it is, like, ear-piercing for me. There it goes. And that's why I always apologize for the sirens through the episodes, because it is like, they're right outside on the street there, So, but that being said, I love you. I'll leave you. Stay safe. Good luck. Ease.